In today's Leeds news, former Leeds assistant gets Spurs role, Diego Llorente future update, under 21s in their final game, and Leeds match day preview. Hey folks, Jay here, Friday the 28th of April with the final video of the week, and this will be split into two halves. So we're recording the first half of this before the press conference, so just some basic news stories to go through. And then in the second half of this will be the match day preview, just going through what we can expect from Bournemouth, who's available for them, same with Leeds as well, on the back of Javi's press conference, which I'm sure there will be questions about Willie Gnonto, and I'll clarify that afterwards if he does or doesn't. So we'll start off though the one a week. If you are a fan of the channel and if you want to help support us to grow, you can do that by liking or subscribing to videos. That presents this video to more people who currently don't see the video in their presets on YouTube. So if you want to support us, you can do so by hitting the little subscribe button down in one of these little corners down here somewhere. Cool. Move on. Let's get into this and let's talk about today's news. And we'll start off with the story that former Leeds United assistant manager Nigel Gibbs has been appointed to a first team role with Spurs. Spurs sacked their coach Christian Stellini earlier on this week on the back of a very heavy defeat and what hasn't gone particularly well. Ryan Mason has stepped up to be the replacement interim, their second interim manager this year, and Ryan Mason will be in charge until the end of this season. Mason has moved to start putting his backroom staff in place, and Gibbs is one of the people that have been brought in to add some experience to that backroom team. Gibbs did serve as Leeds assistant manager during the 2013-2014 season with Brian McDermott's assistant manager. Gibbs did take charge of one Leeds game. That was the match against Huddersfield where Leeds won 5-1 during that crazy period of time that Cellino had sacked Brian McDermott and then rehired him again. And if you want to get more information on that, we did an interview with Brian McDermott on the channel not so long ago, and that's linked in one of the corners up here. If you want to check that out, if you want to get some information on what happened there. Gibbs has been appointed to the first team coach role, which is great for him. It will add some more experience to Ryan Mason's team, but congratulations to Nigel Gibbs and well done to a former Leeds United assistant. Great stuff to you. Well done, Ryan. Moving on, let's talk about Diego Llorente. Is anybody else tired of talking about Diego Llorente? I know I am. But there is some information on this, and there's been a lot of talk and speculation over the last couple of weeks about where Diego Llorente's future would lie, with Roma maybe pulling out the deal because of injuries that he's had. He is currently out injured at the moment, as well as kind of in and out appearance at the start of his time at Roma. Well, it has come out, and according to Voce Gilasora, I butchered that, I know I have, they are saying that Roma will look to sign Diego Llorente on a permanent deal, regardless of his injury status and regardless of Leeds' status. What it says is that the 29-year-old has played pretty well for them so far this season, and that Mourinho is keen to keep the player on a long-term deal. The only hiccup is, similar to what we reported last week, Roma do not want to pay the £18 million that is the agreement or the option to buy Llorente currently. They see it at in and around 12 to 15 million, which is a slight loss on what Leeds paid for him, but given the time that he had at Leeds, it's probably a decent fee in and of itself. But Leeds may want to hang on and push for that £18 million agreement. I have to wait and see. But so according to Voce Gia Lorasa, they are saying that Roma will look to make the move of Diego Llorente permanent, regardless of what happens. Moving on and kicking off probably right about now, the under-21s are in action against West Bromwich Albion away in that game. All they need is a point to be promoted back into the Premier League 2 First Division, the top division in Premier League 2. Leeds currently in the second division of Premier League 2. It's a 2 p.m. kickoff. As I said, this video should be going up around 2 p.m. Should land around 2 p.m. Away to West Brom. Anything other than a defeat will see Leeds move back up into the division above where they were last season. It's been a really good season for Leeds on the 21s. Some standout performances from people like Sonny Perkins, Matteo Joseph have been exceptional for their some breakouts for young Snowden making a breakthrough this year as well. Archie Gray hitting some good points, and Sean McGurk getting a couple of goals this season as well. They have shared the wealth around this year, and it's been great. They've had a really good season. A couple of different managers this year as well, but fingers crossed for them that they get the points today, and fingers crossed it's already done and dusted by now. And that's going to be it for the news today. There's a few bits and pieces floating around. There is a story about Jermaine Beckford speaking to Willie Gnonto about his absence from the Leeds team. And pretty much what Willie Gnonto said to him is that he doesn't know why he's not being picked. There's no injury, there's nothing there. But what Beckford said is he's either doesn't know why he's not being picked, or he does know and can't tell Beckford because of Beckford's position in the media, and obviously he'll tell people. So maybe they don't want to get out. Whatever is going on, hopefully by the end of the press conference today, in the second half of this video, we'll get some answers on that. So we'll take a break now, and if you want to watch the preview, I'll see you in a second. If you don't, thanks for watching, and I'll see you Monday morning with a review of the game. For now, take a little break. I'll see everyone else back in a sec. Right then, folks, going into the game against Bournemouth, Javi's press conference is just finished, and just a couple of top line stuff. Bournemouth themselves going into this game, they will be without three of their key players that are labelled as key players. Hamad Traore is out, one of their signings of this season. Ryan Frederick will also miss the game. Junior Stanislas is also out, but Jack Stevens is expected to return for Bournemouth. Leeds and Bournemouth have both lost 17 games this season, have both conceded 63 goals this season. Leeds scored more goals than Bournemouth. 42 goals versus Bournemouth 32, and Bournemouth have won 3 of their last 5, though, picking up 9 points. Leeds have only won 1 and drawn 1 of their last 5, picking up 4 points. So going into the press conference, Javi's asked a couple of things. Starting off, he was asked, was this a must-win game? And he said, in the situation, we need to put everything in because we lost chances in the last 2 games, so we need to try and go for the win in this one. Asked was there any positives to take from the Leicester game. What he said is yes, but the last result was unexpected for us. We need to take more of our chances. We had chances in that game we should have taken, and we didn't, and that's put us in a situation where this is now bigger again. Asked about Pat Bamford looking devastated after the game and how important he will be for Leeds to now the end of the season. He said he has to be mentally strong. He had 2 clear chances. He said 2 good goal chances to win the game. Leicester created all their chances from our mistakes, and we've got to be better. Asked about Luis Sinisterra's situation, he's confirmed that Luis Sinisterra will be out for the remainder of the season, which is a huge blow to Leeds' chances, given the impact that he's had. He's had such a stop-start season for Leeds this year and has shown some incredible moments of quality when he has been playing. He has damaged ligaments in his ankle as a result of the tackle that he received, which didn't get a card even. I'm pretty sure the referee didn't even give it a free kick at the moment until the ball went out of play, and he stopped it for Sinisterra. Asked about why he's picked the likes of Somerville and Sinisterra over Willy Gnonto and why he's not picking Willy Gnonto. And he said, you ask about Willy regularly. He said, he's an exceptional player with great character, but I've got to pick a team for a day based on who we're playing and based on the qualities that I think we need on the day. He said, but in the next game, Willy will get chances to show what he can do. He said, then Adam Pope then asked, tactically, why is it better without Willy than it is with Willy? And what he said is that he thinks that Willy and Somerville can both add qualities to him. They will both be big players and very important for Leeds between now and the run-in. And was he asked, has he encouraged the team to bond, seeing images of the players watching the games last night, eating pizza together? And he said, look, it's better that we watch games and get good results. However, we can't pay too much attention to those games because we have to focus on ourselves. We need to win for ourselves. Asked then about if we don't win, about your position, and are you worried about your position? He said he's not worried about his position. He's worried about the situation all up. And he said that we were in a worse position when he took over. We're second from bottom when he came in. We're not there now. And he said we need to get better. We got better then, and we know it can get better. And he said we need to take that into Bournemouth. Asked about what problems Bournemouth can bring to Leeds, he said, well, they're very well organised. They have a style of play that they like to bring. They've shown that yesterday, and they've shown it over the last couple of games. They're in a better position as a result of that. And he said, we need to go to that game with confidence, and we need to go to that game knowing that we can win. Asked about Max Vober's availability coming into the game, he said Max is training, but he's not training with the team currently, but he is hoping that will change over the next day or so, and he can do something with the Leeds team to help them in the game against Bournemouth. It's unlikely looking that Max Vober will be in a position to start that game, just on those comments alone. Asked about why the team is struggling with possession, he said, well, against teams like Liverpool, the high press caused us problems. It didn't give us enough time to get our shape and get back in. And he said that caused us issues. But he said in other games, we've been okay. He said we've had moments of possession. We've kept it well at times. Not as much as we'd like to, but we've shown against Leicester that we can keep the ball quite well in the first half. And asked about the team's quality and belief and how he keeps them believing on the back of not getting the results. And what he said is that they're professionals. They're very good professionals. He said you have to manage that. They have to deal with this. They know what they expect in football. He said there's moments when we'll feel better and there's moments when we'll feel worse. But he said we've got to give our best now in these crucial moments. And it doesn't matter if we're feeling bad or we're feeling good. These are the moments that count, and these are the moments we've got to give our best. And he said that we keep working to change the dynamic. Asked about the confidence since Forest and what's happened, and he basically said that, look, you feel better during the week working with each other. We know that we have to cope with the pressure. We've got to deal with that. And he said, we've got to take that into the next game. We know we've missed chances in the last couple of games, but we have to deal with that and we have to focus on the next game. Asked about different formations to help deal with the situation, he said, look, we analyze every team going into the game. Did we know what we need to do better against these teams? And he said, I look at each of my players and see which of our teams and how the dynamic together can help us to get a result against these teams. And he said, so we're always looking at it. He said, we've got a lot of players who are injured right now, but it's not just us, it's other teams as well. So everybody has to be ready to give their all when they're called upon. Asked about what's gone wrong since the second half against Crystal Palace, and he said it was a strange game. He said we showed great shape in the first half, and we showed that we could probably go in at half time with a better result than we did. And he said the second half, they just showed their quality and they came out faster than we did, and we just didn't get to grips with it. He said since then, we have competed well in some games, not constantly, but in patches. And he said that we know what we can do, and we know we can do better here. Asked about what would he do anything differently than he's done now, and he said, look, in between the last games, we haven't had much time to work on specific things because there's been so little time between Leicester and Fulham. We only had 2 days to work. But he said this week we've had a little bit more time to focus on bits and pieces. They did a recovery day, a gym session, and done some video sessions and done some pitch work as well. He says we can't complain. We just have to adapt and get ready. Asked about how big a blow it is to lose Sinisterra for the remainder of the season, he said it's tough to lose key players. He said, but we don't complain. We see the value in the rest of the players that we have here and the squad that we have. We have to be positive and find ways to compete going forward. Asked about questions around fitness, and this is something I've questioned as well about players they drop off in the second half. Kind of makes it look like there's a fitness issue here. And what he said is that he doesn't think it's a physical issue, but he just thinks it's the moments of the season, the stress of the situation, the amount of games they played up until this point, he said, and it's, the amount of games they've been asked to play in a short amount of time basically means that they're finding it harder to recover quickly and you can run out of steam. We did say this, I think this was one of the things that was brought up about just after the World Cup being in the middle of the season. We forget that a lot of these players went off and played a World Cup as well, where normally they wouldn't have had those games this season. It'd be same stage as that right now, but they'd be getting ready to go into a World Cup, and this was going to catch up on teams, and unfortunately seems to have caught up on the teams with less depth of squads, and Leeds have a pretty shallow squad, even with the extra players that came in this year. Given the amount of injuries Leeds had, we don't have the quality and depth to cope with this, and it's a very good point that he's made there. It's a massive game for Leeds. It's an absolutely huge game, and for me, it's 3 points. The way I see Leeds staying up at this stage is it's 3 points against Bournemouth. It's a point against West Ham. It's a point against Spurs and a point against Newcastle. I think will give Leeds the 6 points to get them to the 36-point mark, but they're not going to be easy games. And if we don't come off the back of the Bournemouth game with a win, it could be really tricky to find another place during the year to pick up a win. There will obviously be surprises and shocks and moments between now and the end of the season, but you want to see Leeds compete at this time. You want to see improvement. You would like to think that the draw this week against Leicester, wasn't a disappointing draw, but in fact was a platform to stop the rot of 3 defeats in a row, with 2 very heavy defeats in there as well. And this gives them the springboard to move into a win, hopefully. That's the hope. Bournemouth's form this season shows that they do concede as many goals as us, pretty much exactly the same amount of goals as us, so there's opportunities there. And at the same time, they score less than us. So if we go there with an attacking formation, if we go there with attacking quality, and we get at them for 90 minutes, not just 45, then there's an opportunity for us to go and win the game. And that will be my hope in this. So that's going to be it for the review on the news for today, folks. Thanks very much for watching. As always, there may be a live stream tomorrow night, possibly, not guaranteed. I will put something in the community tab or on Twitter if we do that. I've reached out to a couple of people to see if they'd like to get involved and have a quick chat about the game. And then back on Monday with a review of the weekend's games and with the Leeds news for Monday. So as always, thank you very much for watching and sticking with me, and I appreciate it. And I will talk to you possibly tomorrow night, but definitely on Monday. Have a great weekend. Fingers crossed for 3 points, and I'll talk to you then. Bye.